Okay, so we're going to be talking about spend and churn analysis using the customer strategy tool. The questions this answer are: who are my most valuable customers? Are there any opportunities that I'm missing? And what threats am I missing that I can identify? This is really part two of a three-step series from appending customers, analyzing, which is what we're going to be talking about. Who are our best customers? What are the threats? And then finally, activating them on digital channels. So we're going to be using our fictional insurance company for this example. In our last video, we talked about how they uploaded and appended their data using the Append tool. But this video, we're going to be talking specifically about these columns. They also included the spend per customer, as well as a binary variable churn. So they got back a customer append file, and I'm going to talk to you how we can analyze this manually. And then next we'll talk about the segment strategy tool, which all of this number crunching has been done in an automated way for you. So this is our customer record append. We can see every customer record, which is with its corresponding segment. So if we wanted to understand the average spend, let's say for babies, birds, and blessings, which is one of the segments here, all we'd have to do is sort to all the customers that fall under that segment. And then we just simply in Excel average out what they spend versus what our total population of customers spend. So we can see that they spend 39% more than the average customer. So we can get into a little bit of why that might be. So here are top 7 spending segments. And we can see that babies, birds, and blessings spends quite a bit more than average. And one might expect that this has to do with the amount of income these people make, but we find out that just really isn't the case. Family Outpost, the median income is $143,000. Babies, birds, and blessings about $90,000. And babies, birds, and blessings spend significantly more. Even more surprising, probably, is the Southern Cross Country Living Grits and Charm, relatively low income, still spending a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. I want to put a pin in that. But we're going to try to understand why babies, birds, and blessings is spending more than the average. To do that, we want to go to our enriched data, which is provided in the taxonomy. This is coming from social media, website, and mobile visitation. And we want to understand what is going on with these people that they're spending more on insurance. So I just pulled out some interesting variables from the taxonomy, and we can see pretty quickly that they have 3 times more children than average. They can be married, they can be fairly young and higher income. But this is what's really interesting. So their behavioral attributes, they visit places like Kitty Kid, they go to Orange Leaf, Chick-fil-A, and talk about things on social media like hashtag new family, kids, and mom life. Not only are these people having more kids, they're also very driven by their kids. They talk about them, and their retail behavioral patterns show that they're doing things for their kids as well. So that probably could be an indicator of why these people might be spending more on insurance. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the customer strategy tool. So this essentially takes any additional column that you add as far as metadata on your customers. It crunches that and it spits it back out in an automated fashion. These tend to be really useful. So we're using some additional data sets to contextualize your information here. So this is a example of the segment strategy tool to come in a tabular format. And we can put any variable that we want into our customer append data and get an export out of this. So it could be product affinity, it could be churn, could be conversion, historical conversion, lifetime value. We're going to be talking about churn and spend specifically here. So let's dig into some of the parts here, and I'll kind of give you a tutorial how to use this. So the first thing that you're going to see here is the amount of matched records. We uploaded 301,000, and 96% of those were matched at the individual level. There's sometimes where we just don't have that individual data, or there might be a name that's spelled wrong or something. So in that case, we would match them at the address level, which is what we did here. But we had a pretty good match rate. The first thing that you're going to see is your top 3 segments by spend and by the amount of customers that you have. So groups are essentially just grouped up segments to make the analysis a little bit easier, a little bit more simple. So I'm going to focus you on the top 3 persona live groups right now so we can see the target, and that is the amount of customers that we have that fall into that group versus the market base, which is the amount of customers in that entire market that fall into that group. So this insurance company specifically operates out of a couple of states in the Midwest. So we can see how much of those people that we're actually getting in the affinity here. So we can see with middle-aged suburban, for example, they don't make up that much of the market, but they have a very high affinity, a higher index than upper middle families, which is the highest percentage that we have. Okay, next we'll talk about the segments by spend. This is very simply just taking an average of all the people that fall into that segment and what their spend is. So we can see hashtag country here is a group that has the highest spend. But if we want to break that down in the segments, again, babies, birds, and blessings. We already talked about that. Along with the segment strategy tool, you also get these graphical representations I think can be really, really helpful. So we can get insights pretty quickly out of this. I'm going to explain the graph on the x-axis. You have the percentage of customers. On the y-axis, you have how much those people spend on average. And then the size of bubble is relative to the size of the market. Small bubble, there's not that many people in that segment in that market, like H, for example, which is young professionals. A large bubble, look at C, there's a lot of people in that market, 10% or more. So what kind of insights can we get out of this graph? So the first one is we can kind of see our core customers here are upper middle families. They make up around 18% of our total customers. They spend a lot, and they're 12% of the total market. But something that we might be missing right now, and I said I'd put a pin in this and come back to it later. So we see niche performers here. They're spending a lot, but they don't make a very big portion of our total customer set. We see hashtag country is only 6% of their customers. They spend more than our best segment, and they are 10% of the market. There's a lot of these people. So the commonality between the three segments that are low income and spend a lot is they're all rural and then agricultural based as far as their occupation. So my guess is these people are probably using their insurance probably for work related purposes. So this is probably a customer segment that this insurance company didn't even know that they exist. So great opportunity to expand in a big market too. Okay, so insurance is widely known as a industry where it is more expensive to lose a customer than it is to actually get a customer. So managing churn is really important. So we can also remember that binary column, yes, no on churn. We can also use that to understand churn per segment. So we can see each of our segments, groups is what we're using here, and then the average churn. So some quick insights that we can get from this is young professionals, they churn a lot. Young folks are we're not managing them right, or they just switch insurance providers quite a bit. But we can also look at this relative to the amount that customer group or that customer segment makes up of our revenues. And this becomes really interesting. So along the x-axis, you have the percentage of customer revenues. And then on the y-axis, you have the percentage churn. So we can pretty quickly see C, which is our upper middle families, they're good. They don't churn, and they're a good customer for us. But middle-aged suburban families, they make up 15% of our revenues, and they're also churning at a rate of 15.5%, which is almost double the average rate for this company, which is 8%. So this is an indicator that we probably need to do some qualitative interviews with this customer set to understand why exactly are they churning. Is there something that we're just missing in communication or product for them? And then finally, we can see that hashtag country, they make up 8% of our revenues. They have 19% churn, the highest churn. This makes sense because we probably don't even know that this is a valuable customer segment to us. So there's a good chance that we're not speaking to these people correctly. Okay, just in review here, we appended customer records. We added target variables to the append file, like spend and churn. And then finally, we analyze the spend and churn results in a manual way, as well as an automated way with the customer segmentation tool. Some use cases that you can use this segmentation tool for is return on advertising spend. So you can identify and target efficiently. So instead of hitting the entire market, we could just send physical mail to all the people that are in the babies, birds, and blessings segment that we already know spend a lot, and they also have an affinity for our product. We didn't really talk about this. So product affinity, instead of putting spend and churn, you could, if you have multiple products, you could put how much they spend for each product. And you can understand, are there segments that have a specific product that they really care about for us? And then finally, customer management. You can identify leakages and discover what are the core reasons for those leakages. And we talked about that with the middle-aged suburban segment. Okay, so that's it for that. Next, we're going to talk about response modeling.